And it was a hula halau celebrating May Day.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got to sit there and watch it all and smell all the flowers and, you know, all of that. It's like the perfect gig.
Yeah.
4 hours, I get paid to do pretty much what I would have done on May Day anyway.
Yeah. But you, I mean, how I remember, I'm Kathy with a K, and I'm talking story with Lisa D.
Hi.
I know you, Lisa D, in the professional sense.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, I think probably into 2010 also. A radio broadcaster, a club DJ. But I remember when we first met, you would say, I don't DJ music. I spin records.
Yeah.
I remember that.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah, spinning records. But so I want to go all the way back. But at the same time, what I was going to say about like how you do security, what I do remember about you was you had this heightened sense of your environment. Like, it's not like, you know how they would say like, oh, you got eyes behind your head. It's like you were always aware of what's going on
right
in your space. So
you have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be. You know, you were talking about just earlier about trusting the universe. It's a big thing for me. I mean, considering I was, and this is just going to sound funny to people, I was born and raised Catholic, went to Catholic schools, Catholic university, and it's ingrained. It's like I grew up being Catholic and being guilty for everything.
Being guilty or feeling guilty?
Feeling guilty,
yeah.
And kind of being guilty too, if truth must be told. And now it's a matter of spiritual consciousness. I've been to different churches. You know, there's so much wonderful worshiping going on this island. There really is. I kind of have my own beliefs now, and trusting the universe is really one of them, because I don't think I would ever gotten anything done, you know, without the universe giving me a little nudge.
We are in May 2024, and do you still go by Lisa D? Is there another name that we can just address?
No, I'm just Lisa,
okay,
or Mom. You know, basically, I had two lives. I had my professional life and my personal life. They sometimes clashed. They sometimes worked in synergy. But the proudest thing I am about is my kids. They're my legacy.
Talk about your kids. Name your kids, and if you have grandbabies.
Oh. Well, you know, let's put it this way. I have 5 kids. Okay. There's Jameson, a former Marine. Well, you never a former Marine, but he's a Marine. And he gave me 3 grandbabies, Isaac, Mackenzie, and Mia. And they're just good kids. My son is a great man. And I mean that just not because I'm his mom, but because he is. He's a great man. And then there's Courtney, who is my firstborn child with Chris Hart. He was a radio DJ, and she's still a joy, right? Married, no kids yet, but at the top of her game in her marketing career. Okay, she works for Island Wide, plug, shameless plug. And then there's Peyton, who is really the middle child. They don't know if they want to grow up or stay young. But she is successfully working at Kaiser. Okay, she's got the perfect job. She works from home and goes into the office once a week. If they had those jobs, I'd still be working. And then there's Skylar, who works for a financial firm. And then there's Anakin, my youngest, who, when he left, I was sad. You know, Jameson went into the Marines and I was sad. But when Anakin left for the Army, I had what do they call that? Empty nest syndrome. I didn't think I'd get that. But then when he left, I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, there's nobody in the house to cook for, nobody else in the house to pick up after, just go to work, do your thing and come home. It was weird. I mean, when you raise 5 kids, there's always something going on. Yeah. Whether it's their sports, their extracurricular activities, breaking up with boyfriends or girlfriends, there's always something to do as a mom. And I neglected, I let them raise each other a lot. you know, because I was a single mom for a long time, and I just love my kids, love them all,
And they love you back.
I
for
hope
sure,
so.
For sure. Let's get a kind of origin story of foundation of
Sure.
Lisa D, the public persona.
Uh-huh.
Where were you born and raised?
Born and raised here in Honolulu. My dad has passed. My mom is still, you know, here in Honolulu. I have 2 sisters. One is PJ. She used to be a DJ on the radio also, right?
Hi, PJ.
Hi, PJ. And my other sister, well, she's an fiercely independent woman that also raised 5 kids. And my nephews are, my nieces are fabulous. She just became a grandmother. Hey, Grandma.
What
Let's
is your
see.
mom and dad's name?
Oh, Joey Westwater. She remarried. My dad was Augustine de la Noza.
Oh.
Yeah. We have family in Kauai, Missouri, California, Florida, Texas. I mean, it's just, we're all over the place, you know. Yeah.
Oh, what part of Oahu were you raised
I
up?
was born in the housing projects of Kalihi, beautiful downtown Kalihi. Lived there for most of my life, and then moved out. You know, when you know, then I got married, and we both lived in Kailua, and then when we separated, I moved the kids to Waimanalo. The first 2 graduated from Kailua. The second 2, I moved to Salt Lake, so they were in, what do you call that place? Moanalua High School.
Ooh.
And then Anakin, he graduated from IAEA. Yeah, IAEA High School. Yeah.
When you were coming up as a kid and going through school, how did music come into your life? Were you the one turning people on to music, or were other people?
You know,
How did you discover it?
This is going to make me really look old, but I am. So, silly, but I am. I got into it in high school, early high school. I started working at a Hawaiian pa'akai. What I did was I packed Hawaiian salt in a warehouse. And then I liked listening to radio, but you got to understand, and this is going to sound so strange to everybody. You need to understand that radio then was not FM and all these stations. It's AM all the way.
AM was king.
King.
Yeah.
My dad woke up to Aku, okay, every morning.
That's Hal Lewis.
It's Coconut Wireless, right? Great man. Wife, Emma Very, great woman. When my dad wasn't home, I'd switch channels, and then I found pop music, which I absolutely adored.
What was pop music?
It was a little bit of Motown. Then it was like George Thorogood rock, Manfred Mann's Earth Band, Creedence Clearwater Revival. You know, it ran the gamut.
Yeah.
It was truly just pop.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had
Popular.
a hit,
Kids, pop meant popular
Yeah,
music.
popular music.
Still yet, but yeah.
And it never involved country. You know, and there was never a Hawaiian station except for the old KCCN AM. They were doing territorial airwaves and that stuff. But I mean, I got into calling into the radio station to be the 9th caller, and that's just when we had landlines, okay? And you dialed, and it went beep, 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 and you had to hang up again. And when I won once.
Do you remember the DJ?
I don't remember the
Or
specific DJ
yeah,
that
or
I
the
won
radio
from,
station?
but I won an album, and I can't even remember the name of the album. And I was screaming that I won, and then you hear yourself back on the radio. Then I went down there, and I was just like, oh. And I won from K-Poi. Was it K-Poi AM? Or was it something else? Anyway, it was on the Alawai, where there's a radio tower still on the Alawai by what used to be Casey Drive-In. And then I started calling DJs because I had no life. Really take you back. This is how I got started in radio. This is the true story. Gentleman at Night, his name was Steve Blind Date Boogie Clark. He is now known as Steve Bashal, who's an artist, and you can find him on Facebook. He's an incredible painting artist. But I kind of had a crush on him. I have this thing for guys with deep voices. Okay, I am not going to lie.
I don't think that's unusual. I think that's just kind of like a genetically built into our DNA.
You think? You know, I mean, if you had a voice, I was like, dang. Me, I didn't know how old he was or whatever it was, but, you know, it was like he treated like me like an adult. And at the time, I swear, I was like 14, 15. Mm-hmm. And then when I turned 16, you know, we talked on the radio, and he said, you know, you should come in. We need a morning intern. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I think you should be really good at it. I'm like, really? And he goes, and we pay $6 an hour. Now, you got to remember, this is back in the 70s. $6 an hour was like, to me, like, wah! And I ended up meeting him. He did this Blind Date Boogie. Steve Blind, he originated the dating on the radio. Okay.
In Honolulu?
Yes. Yeah. Blind Date Boogie Clark. The lineup was Lan Roberts in the morning, who ended up in Taiwan and working there. Steve McNamamouth Williams.
Had the names back in the day.
Stephen B. Williams. He had the most incredible voice. That was his thing. He was his own entity, McNamamouth. He did voiceovers. He did commercials. He was one of the first people I ever met. Was like, just created his own being. Okay, and he was a business. There was let's see, in the afternoons, Steve Clark. Oh, and Willie Moku did overnights. Seriously.
He must have been a child.
He was just graduated from Columbia School of Broadcasting, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank
Seriously.
you very much, yeah.
And he was my dude, you know, and he's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But I ended up doing, working from 6 to 10 in the morning. Actually, it was more like 3 to 8 because I had to go to school. And then eventually, you know, summers I worked full time and stuff. But I pulled Lan Roberts. I did the morning news, rewrote it, kind of what a news person would do now. I wrote jokes. I was pretty funny.
You still funny.
Who else was there? Billy Sage. Billy Sage was this is a great story. Billy Sage is he's on KCCN. He's a voice of KCCN. He's now retired. He has his son, Billy Sage Jr., but he is like the advertising agency's dream. He did voices. He did contemporary smooth. He did, you know, accents, all of that. Billy Sage kind of took me under his wing, seriously, and half protected me, but he also taught me how to record, how to work a DJ setup, how to record different channels, A, B, C, D. Back then it was 1, 2, 3, 4 as A, B, C, D. How to cut and splice when we used to have to actually physically cut.
With the wax pencil.
Yeah.
Flipping it around and using the tape.
Right.
And then
splicing. It's called
Yeah.
Now you just go on the, you know, click, erase or whatever, right?
Same in here.
Exactly. But I learned that. I learned how to record onto carts, which you don't have anymore either. I learned production from Billy Sage. He used
that is wild.
Yeah, he used my voice a lot. The Willie Moku thing is, somebody said, you should say that you met Willie Moku when he first started in radio. I'm like, really? I love Willie. He's my man. He's my friend. And up until he passed, he was still my friend and always one of my greatest fans. And I love him about that. Yeah, I love that. But yeah, I did that. I did that radio. I went out kind of with Steve Clark, but you know, he's older. He's like 30 something. I'm sorry, Steve. And you know who I also met then that befriended me? This is so funny. John Berger.
Oh,
okay.
Now, I still see him around. He's still out there.
John Berger back then took photographs. You know the little tourist magazine This Week and Aloha Week or whatever? He photographed a lot of those girls.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, and he asked me if I wanted. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna put my picture out there for thousands of tourists. And I guess, I don't know, we just became friends. I mean, he'd come over for dinner. My mom adored him. I'm like, really, Mom? Anyway, but he was a friend, and he remained a friend to this day. I hardly see him, though. But yeah. I dropped out of radio because I went to college.
What was your discipline, or what did you...
I went pre-med. I had a partial scholarship from the Lion. Was it Elks or Lions? I think it's Lions. I go to eat at the Elks Club. I think it was a Lions Club. I did an early admittance into Chaminade when I was at Star of the Sea, which is a Catholic all school back then, and no longer there. It's just elementary. But so I had early admission senior year. I was going to college and high school, and then I got the scholarship, went to UH Manoa, failed out miserably. It's a little Catholic girl going to this huge university. I actually did quite well in philosophy, which is my favorite class to this day. And I ended up, I was working at the time also. I mean, I remember how did I do that? I went to high school, I went to college, and I worked at Al Phillips the cleaner. I love that job. To this day, I love clothing and cleaning it. And it's so weird.
It's a presentation. It's
my
just
best friend, Ahi, she goes, I do laundry. I go, I love laundry. What is wrong with you people? And eventually, I ended up getting a job part-time job at a nightclub. I don't know how that happened. Really don't know how that happened. It was TJ the DJ who had what do you call that? Agency for DJs, Gary Calicott, who has now retired, but he was huge in Hong Kong, helped build clubs and things. They needed someone to just sit there for 2 hours from 7 to 9 and play soft jazz.
At a restaurant?
Nick's Fishmarket.
Oh, in Waikiki.
It had a lounge. The lounge was 7 to 9. And then from 9 to 1, TJ or whoever did the disco was huge. You got to remember in the 70s, okay?
Back when it was a discotheque.
It was a discotheque. Whatever. Yeah. But you got to understand, Nick's was like the 5-star, incredible food, pricey as heck, guys in tuxedos. Everyone was nice. I was 18 and impressed. Impressed.
Were you and your fellow music spinners called DJs, or what?
We're called DJs.
You're already called DJs.
Yes, TJ the DJ, and then I never had a name. I never talked.
Or even a dress code. Were you encouraged, like, because it's Nick, you had to
you
wear
had to,
formal wear?
Not formal wear, but I mean
cocktail dress.
Yeah, I had a long black dress with slits on both sides. That was kind of my uniform. I also had, I'm still looking for these, black satin tuxedo pants.
Yeah.
And a white shirt that was kind of like a man's take on, a woman's take on a man's tuxedo. That was my favorite outfit. And then I started getting, Donna Summer and all of these people come up, and you started wearing sparkles and John Travolta, and you had flowy dresses. I mean, I love it. To this day, I loved it. And then, of course, as we move into the 80s, you got the hair and the Madonna and all of that. I have stock in Aquanet. I swear. I inhaled so much of that stuff back in the 80s for the hair. I ended up taking a break and flying for Pan American Airlines.
Oh.
Yeah. You go to California after you train and you graduate, and they say, okay, so this, welcome to LAX. This is your base. So let's get to know each other. And what did you do before you became a flight attendant? Back then it was stewardess, whatever. And it was very rigorous training.
Yes.
United Airlines supposedly took over PanAm's, they merged. But Pan American was indeed a class in itself when it came to airlines.
Do you want to talk about that? And there was like weight, height, sizing, uniforms, all these.
Exactly. None of these standards are used now. It kind of blows my mind. It was really hard to get into Pan American. You had to have a second language. You were tested in that language. You had to be a certain height. I don't know what it was, but I know I was tall enough. I was 5'7". I think I'm 5'6.5" now because of age. But you had to be tall enough to reach the overhead compartments and close them, open them, close them, all of that. And they actually made you reach, to test your height and stuff. And you had to be under a certain weight. I don't remember what it was, but it was skinny. Back then I was a size 2.
I don't even know what that means. I can't even. Yeah, never
size.
Have I ever a size 2.
And when they sent you to school, they sent you to school. I mean, you went and you learned everything. I learned about alcohol. I can look at an alcohol bottle and I can tell you if it's scotch, bourbon, or vodka just by the label. You had to recognize things by label. You know, they taught me about all the different alcohols. They gave you cocktails that you had to memorize. They tested you in the first class galley. That was the last and largest test. You actually cooked a real meal on an airplane for first class. Yeah.
Wow.
That was my jam. Are you kidding? And in a flight, before a flight, you all gather like 2 hours before the flight, and then you do your pre-check, and then there'd be certain stations that are available to everybody, and it's always okay. First class galley, it's always by volunteer. Okay, first class server, left side business class, right side business class, all of that. And the hardest thing to do, and I'm really proud of this because I love cooking, was doing the first class galley. You had to be special to do that because it was pressure. You had so much time to serve that prime rib at the perfect pink. You know what I'm saying? Oh, crazy. Back then they had prime rib and we cooked it.
I can't even
Why
imagine
are you so shocked?
an oven and a stove.
Oh, girl.
Was it a full kitchen? Like how many burners?
Well, you know what? There's no burn. The rest of the stuff was just, it's kind of like when you order a Thanksgiving turkey dinner, but prime rib was cooked.
Yes.
Cooked there. And the first class galley girl was always responsible to feed the pilots and make sure that they never ate the same thing. The captain orders first, then the co-captain, and then the flight engineer. But you can't have the same meal because if something goes bad and somebody gets sick, there's 2 other people to fly.
Okay.
No one knows that. I think that's interesting. I learned that. I'm like, really? So that was my jam.
The more you know.
Yeah. That was my jam. I loved working. First class galley. And a couple of times I had to fight it out with people. They were like,
Yeah.
like, I don't do it that much. I'm new. Please. They're like, oh, just give it to her. You know? Just let her have it. So I did that a lot. Flying was just, it was different. It was, like I said, I mostly work first class. So I loved the service. I loved back then, and PanAm had the up and down, the 747s, and I love working upstairs and downstairs and feeding the crew. A lot of the crew. Got any extra? Yeah.
Sure.
And back then it was okay to eat stuff. Now I hear it's like you got to eat only your crew meal and all of that. There's so much But then again, maybe because of the excellent service and PanAm was didn't cheap on anything. I mean, the first class blankets, the first class pillows. I mean, I remember it all being such a grand experience. And I got to fly a lot of places. And I realized I don't like flying.
Oh, yeah.
When you can beam me up, Scotty, I'm in.
You're based in LAX?
LAX.
And so it was international flights or mainly domestic? Or?
Well, what happens is you bid on what they show you the trip schedule for a month. And then you bid like a month ahead. So you know where you're going. And there's lines that, of course, everyone wants. Tahiti. Everyone wants to go to London, Hong Kong. So those went senior. I put in like 50 lines to bid. Never got one, except when I started doing Honolulu turnarounds. I did, and Narita turnarounds. Narita had just opened up back then. I did Honolulu. I did LA, Honolulu, fly back to LA, fly back to Honolulu. It was a 3-day hop, but it was consistent. A lot of people bid for working 2 weeks straight and then having a week off. I didn't get anything I wanted, so I did a lot of Japan. I love Japan. I have a thing for just everything there, just the culture, just everyone's so nice, that kind of thing. It was a whole wonderful world, and it taught me perspective. We all put our pants one leg at a time, and people are people wherever you go. They just speak a different language, maybe look a little different. But the basic human psyche and the human spirit we're all the same. You know, that taught me a lot. I did it only for a little while. Did it for 2 years, and then I came back because I got pregnant with my first son. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the love of my life. Aww. Yeah, and they're like, "Are you ever coming back?" They called me. "Are you coming back from pregnancy leave?" I said, "I don't think so." Yeah, and that's when I ended up going full time as a DJ because I could move up from easy listening 7 to 9, and I started doing mixing. I learned how to mix. Mm-hmm. They taught me how to mix beats per minute, all of that.
Do you remember the equipment and
Techniques 1200s?
Okay, so 2 of those.
2 of those,
and
sometimes 3 if you got lucky. If you got lucky, most clubs didn't afford you a third one.
When you would you have to haul in your own crates of music, or was it designated like it was TJ's library?
Okay. This is complicated. Back in the day, there's a thing called the Hawaii Record Pool. Okay, TJ was really popular. He made a name for himself all across the nation. He was at Studio 54, Spin. Yeah, it's pretty big. And so he had record companies. They send you the records. Mm-hmm. And you got distributed to the record pool. Because I worked for him, I didn't have to pay any dues. But if any other DJs wanted it, they had to pay dues.
I just got chicken skin because that is like a huge deal not to have to, in addition to like getting sent records or having to a discount on it.
Right.
You didn't have to.
No. Are you kidding? And then of course, you buy your own too. But I don't know if it was just me, but I got lucky. I went to nightclub managers and said, "I need this, and you guys got to keep up with the times. I got the record pool stuff. I'll leave it in the club. If you want, and sometimes music comes out, you got to purchase it. I need a budget for this." Nick's was really good at it. And let's see, Nick's, the winery. It's extraordinary. I go in, I just sign for stuff. Yeah. And it was the Beat Records and Tapes that ran a record pool. Mm-hmm. And they also supplied all the DJs on the island with whatever they needed. Mm-hmm. There are records that just have beats. Mm-hmm. There are records with, I love colored vinyl. I used to collect colored vinyl. If the record came in blue, I had to have it. Mm-hmm. It was blue vinyl or red vinyl or yellow vinyl. And then it was like, it's a thing. I'm over it. But I got lucky in the fact that if I asked for something and I was the house DJ, the club paid for it. And I never asked for much. I just asked for what was needed to make us sound good. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's your venue, and I'm here to make you look very good.
And they trusted me. They trusted me. Like even when video came out, we had to mix video into records. Mm-hmm. I was
actually, let's back up before we talk about video, because video is. I want to say that came in through even though music videos have always been around, it was a different thing when it was introduced into the public sphere. Yeah. Into the discos. The mixing of videos before that, mixing music, did you play the song in its entirety, or did you create new music?
Nowadays, everyone's so talented in doing mixing different music.
Because what was the mixing like to understand the environment of a nightclub in Waikiki in particular in the late 1970s, 1980s. Mm-hmm. I also wanted to know what it was like. Who were the other female talents that were there, or were you the lone female for a spell?
I was a lone female for a while. Yeah. And the other girls that were in it were still doing the 7 to 9 easy listening music. I just wanted to do more because you make more money if you work, if you work the whole night, right? I learned how to do it. They trusted me. I was good at it. And they liked me on the microphone. Good evening. Welcome to next Fishmarket. As we transition from your early listening, jazz ensemble, let's hit it. And then play the Emotions, Best of My Love, or whatever it was.
Did you play the entire song, or nowadays everything's just like the hook, it's a bridge, they go back and forth.
Okay, yeah, because that's what 12 inches are. Yeah. Okay, that's
what was it like this is like a really good primer to understand the evolution
of
the DJ
right
in Hawaii in particular, in Honolulu, in Waikiki specifically, because
right.
Waikiki is like the French Quarter to New Orleans.
Oh, yes.
The Strip to Las
Back
Vegas,
then, yeah.
Times Square to New York
Are
City.
you
know.
kidding? You
Right,
parked in one place and you walked
Yeah.
the entire to 10 different nightclubs.
Yes.
Okay, I'm guilty of that on my nights off. It's like, really? You're gonna go and like see people at a nightclub when you work in one?
Okay, so Nick's Fishmarket.
Okay.
And being the lone female.
Let me explain something to you.
Yeah.
When you mix, back then you had 12 inches versions of things, as opposed to an album version, which is 5 minutes. The 12-inch version would be to have a long intro, a break with drums or a guitar solo, then go back into the song. So there's different levels of how they extend it to make a 12-inch for the club, okay? A lot of DJs use the break to mix it like just the drums. So they miss the second part of the song, okay? I had an old friend, his name was Monty, very fun friend. He worked at, what was it called? Marrakesh, okay? I loved him. Little Filipino kid. Always called me auntie. I'm like, hello, I'm not that much older. You know? Whatever, bro. He used to come in to like listen to us, you know, all the DJs. And he goes, I don't understand you people. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you know, they make a record so you listen and play the whole thing. Like he would play it, a song all the way, not use a break, and he was good. But then again, 12-inch versions can run long, you know, and if there's a perfect time to change the mood or to change, you know, whatever, sometimes you got to use that bridge. You got to use it extra. There's a few things that people do nowadays that kind of upset me, is when they cut off the good part of a song. Because I know when the good part's coming up, okay, and then they cut it off and I'm sitting there going, really? What? For example, meeting in the ladies' room, climax. At the end, no one ever hears the part where she goes, you know, you watching my man and, you know, she's talking smack to the other chicks. That is the best part of the song, but it's also the fade out. I'm like, now you can make it longer with, you know, electronics and stuff, but back then you couldn't. And there's a lot of times where there's dead air because I'm like listening to the song. Oh, shoot. And back then, it was also, I did this when I came out of retirement to work for James on New Year's Eve. Back then.
James Coles, by the way.
James Coles. You got to you can't pick up the wrong needle. I've done it a few times, and then you go, whoop, and you let it just drop. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa. It's kind of like when a radio DJ doesn't hit the next song, you know. But it's happened few and far between. And I did it on the electronic system. I hit the wrong button, you know, at New Year's, and it went dead, and I hit it again. But it starts at the beginning of the song when you hit it again, not where you left it, right?
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh. Everybody's drunk. It was New Year's Eve. Yeah. And I turn on the mic, I go, what? It's the Lisa D remix. What? You know, everybody's drunk, like, oh, she's so funny. Oh. But to answer the original question, where you mix when you're doing vinyl is up to you. There is nothing better than a 12-inch version of a song. Mm-hmm. You know, nowadays, back in the day, too, they had, like, one side was the version and the other side was just an instrumental. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you got two of them. You just play this and then you do the instrumental and make yourself a longer break and you know, extend the song. Mm-hmm. It's an art, really. Yeah. It really is. It really is. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of DJs now going, oh, yeah, whatever. Vinyl is final. Yeah. That's me. Yeah. I have a shirt that says that. Yeah. Vinyl me, please.
Well, it's cool because I have friends who still mix on occasion and they have like all vinyl nights. So that, you know.
Yeah, Bevy does that. Bevy does that.
Yes.
James does it I think it's once a month on Wednesday. It used to be Tuesday. But yeah.
And occasionally downtown, I want to say, I can't remember, on Hotel. All the great little clubs on Hotel Street. But yeah, there's various options.
The resurgence of the nightclub is never going to happen. I don't. It is what it is. There's nobody that wants to run a restaurant and then do a nightclub after, like Spats, for instance.
Tell me about Spats, because that was my brother's time versus me, and it's just like
thanks for making me feel old again.
No,
Kathy.
It just missed it by a few years. Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. Okay, Spats. It was a different genre. It was really hugely popular. It was The Godfather was the boss. Okay, everyone dressed in like kind of like pinstripe suits. You know, the old smooth Al Pacino Godfather thing going on, right? They'd serve Italian food, pasta, right? Different sauces. It wasn't bad. It wasn't the best stuff. It wasn't the worst stuff. It was better than Denny's and less than Nick's. It was kind
like a theme. It was a theme.
Yeah, it was a theme. Yeah. And they had an area for dinner where you could eat dinner. It was in the Hyatt Regency, okay? And then there was a dance floor with a DJ booth. And the whole concept was just so novel. It's like they had a big sign. The Godfather says, you must wear a collared shirt. The Godfather says, you must have footwear. I mean, you know, everyone was like, wow. You know, no one ever put rules on it. We had rules, but nobody, it was a whole thing. Bobby McGee's opened up. Bobby McGee's, they're you can see if you go to like Savers, Goodwill, or, you know, somebody that collects, they have the cup. It's a toilet. It says Bobby McGee's on it. They serve a cocktail in it. You take the cup home. Bobby McGee's was just, it was a themed kind of restaurant that turned into a nightclub also. You know what I mean? And it was a thing. And then there are certain places that just opened up at 8:30, let people in, and then it became a nightclub till 2 a.m., like the Sting, for example. The Sting was in the Princess Kailani Hotel. Eventually, with TJ, we did a lot of, there was the Foxy Lady 2 in the Beachcomber Hotel, Jilly's in the, what's that one? I want to say the Marriott, but it's not. It's Shorebird Hotel, Shorebird. That was you know, those places were half restaurant and the other half was, you know, a disco and a bar. And that became the rage before, you know, like Nick's was the original, I think. Nick's and Rex and Eric's, which is now called Scruples or something like that. And it's called something else. Dinner and then a nightclub. It was like the perfect package. You know what I mean? Valet parking, good wine by the glass. You know, that, I love, yeah. It's a thing for me. Well, some people do because we opened a club called Steel Wings, and it was an airplane themed place. That's crazy. That was Judge Richard Lee's thing.
Like an actual judge.
Oh yeah, he was the youngest family court judge ever appointed in Hawaii, and he decided to get into owning a nightclub. He was young, like I said, the youngest family court judge ever appointed in Hawaii, and he bought or leased Opus One.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it turned into Angles after that. Okay. Girl. And then then upstairs had Brino's with Andy Bumatai.
Wait, is that
Ilikai.
4-store? Oh, okay.
Ilikai, yeah. Upstairs is Annabelle's on the top.
Yeah.
That's a different. Okay. That's hotel owned. Okay.
I'm getting chicken skin because you're like naming off properties and establishments that I would only hear about. I would hear about, and they were already transitioned into something else by the time I was coming up.
Right.
Yeah.
Brino's was, and they was like Andy Bumatai was there. They had like local favorite music. The Opus One at the time had the Nate Kanai Quartet. And when we took over, what Brino's turned into Steel Wings, and then the Power Station.
So the Power Station,
still same owner, yeah.
That's where you were spinning, or there was
I've done Power Station, yeah.
There was another. Gosh, it was in the late 1980s, mid to late 1980s, where there may have been other DJs there, but people were like, "Oh, that's where Lisa D spins."
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I don't know if it was a power station or there. Or,
There's a power station.
or the point after.
I never did the point after. I did. Ricky Sugimoto was a bartender at the point after.
Okay.
Lee Afuvai was a general manager. People are going to go, oh, wow, that name. And Faf, the Fists of Fury. This is, his real name was Rick. But he was like in charge of, you had to have some serious manpower to run a nightclub back in the day.
Oh, even now, but back then.
Even now, but back then it was like, we had things like all you can drink Tuesdays. Thirsty Thursdays, $5 all you can drink for 2 hours. You never heard of that? What are your eyeballs? Your eyeballs are like, what? No, ask anybody. And the bouncer to call it Thursday night at the fights because everybody would get so drunk by 10 o'clock. You know, from 8 to 10, all you can drink. But it was just standard cocktails. This is what people would do. They'd come in at 8 o'clock. They'd stand at the bar. They'd get the drink, you know, one drink at a time. Okay, you had your little wristband for $5. Then they get the drink and they go all back to the end of the line and drink the drink while they're in line so they could be in, you know. And if once the 10 o'clock hit, you were in line, you didn't get a drink. It is what it is. But people got so wasted. I mean, you know.
We don't talk about that now.
No,
enough.
we can talk about it now because it's done. What you going to do? Arrest me for drinking back then?
I know some people are like, you know, that sounds like a good promo. We could bring it back.
You know what? We used to do shot specials. Riki Sugimoto and Mike Aoki. They were they were 1 and 2 for Richard Lee. They did stuff like, okay, 15 minutes, kamikaze shot specials. Go crazy. People were like, okay. Or nowadays it's peach schnapps or whatever it was, but it was kamikazes back then. At the Opus One, we had a Tom Selleck lookalike contest. We had drinking contests. I mean, Ricky and Mike were virtual, just badasses when it came to promotion and thinking up things to fill that little nightclub. And that's why Richard Lee, the Judge Richard Lee, ended up buying leasing Brinos, which turned into Steel Wings and then the power station. So it's just all a matter of, you know, and during this time, I trained a lot of people. I trained Ahi when I was with TJ's, and also back then, I forget the name of was it Lauren? This girl, little Oriental girl, really cute. And she ended up going upstairs to Annabelle's, where it was a nightclub. But Annabelle's is also a franchise. They plucked her and took her to London. That's the last I heard. You know, I'm like so proud of her. She never came back to say hi, but thank you. Alan Arato,
yes,
was once somebody that I trained. Alan Arato is now like, he did promotions for Tom Moffat for
Mr.
ever.
Moffat, yeah.
Yes, and one of his right hand men, and he learned how to DJ from me. That's pretty funny because Alan is just such a talented, incredibly energetic guy. A bunch of people that I trained ended up going on and having a lot of success in the nightclub industry, you know. Actually, how did I end up getting out of the nightclubs? I think I met a man or something. It was Chris Hart, actually. He was in radio. And we had a baby together.
I just saw Chris recently.
Yeah.
Still a good guy.
He's happily married. He has a wonderful family.
Yeah.
We get along great.
Yeah.
We do. We really do.
No, you guys have always, as far as I've known each of you,
I mean, together, apart. I mean, and we had Courtney, and she's always been the focus. And, I mean, there are, of course, you know, not all breakup stories are fabulous. There are times when, you know, there are reasons why you break up. But I love his wife. I love his Courtney. You know, she has stepbrothers, stepsister. I love their kids. I just, you know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But yeah, I met a man, and that's how I got into radio. How to get back to radio? This is really interesting.
Because was it on purpose, or somebody was headhunting you, and
somebody
they're like,
headhunted
Lisa,
me.
I remember when you did this.
No, somebody headhunted me.
Okay.
And this is just wow. Wow, how did that happen? There was this wonderful lady, Jackie, her name was the Honolulu Skylark.
Ms. Rossetti.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jackie Lindsay is who I know her before she got married. I think that the Honolulu Skylark is the #1 female voice of Hawaii.
Yes, agree.
There is nobody that is so smooth as that woman, whether she's doing English or Hawaiian. And I met Skylark through Chris. And she's, you're doing these nightclubs. and I'm like, okay, yeah. And she says, you should do radio. I go, no. No. Nightclubs are rewarding because you sit right there. Either you're good or you're not. And the way people react, you get instant gratification. I'm sorry to say this, but radio, you have to be kind of crazy to do. Okay? You sit with a microphone and maybe a TV flashing news, but you're by yourself. You're talking to yourself. Or you have to have a really good imagination and imagine you're talking to someone to be good in radio. I'm like, no, can't do it. How about just do weekends? I think you'd be really good at it. You'd be doing me a favor. And when the Skylark says, how do you say no? So I did. And she had just launched a brand new station.
And what were the calls?
A KCCN FM 100. She was Programmer of the Year, Billboard's Programmer of the Year for this new genre that she created. Bob Marley to Mana'o Company, a kicking like Peter Moon Band, Kalapana. I mean, it took Hawaii by storm, rightly so. And I swear, it really did restart the Hawaiian contemporary and appreciation for the old Hawaiian music that exists today. I really do. I think we owe a lot to her. I really do. Yeah. But that's how I got back into radio. The rest is history. I think I screwed up at KCCN. They had to fire me. I'm not sure.
But you was there.
I was there, girl. And Billy Van Osdal was there.
Oh.
He did, afternoons. Don Lips Fujiyama worked part-time. Let's see. Sam Kapu did mornings. Sam Kapu Senior. Except Sam Kapu, of course, was Don Ho's, like wingman through many years.
What a handsome bugger.
Yeah, that bugger is handsome. And no argue, So Chris and I are together. And they said there's an opening at I-94, what was called KIKI. I'm like, I want to do that. So I was encouraged to do that by Ricky Sugimoto, who was my club manager, and by Chris, who was my boyfriend. So he helped me make a demo tape. They took it there, and they loved it. They hired me. They called me on a Friday, okay, and said, let's meet on Monday, go over paperwork, you're hired. Then Monday when I called, this is a deep story for me. Monday when I called, I was treated with such, I don't want to say hatred, but disrespect maybe. I forget who the program manager was at the time. Goes, Lisa, I have to ask you a question before you come in, because I said, what time do you want me to come in? I called him. He said, do you know anybody in radio? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, do you know anybody in radio? I go, Chris Hart's my boyfriend. Got to remember at that time, KQMQ and KIKI were enemies.
Yeah.
And he hung up on me. Didn't even say anything, just hung up on me, wouldn't take my calls anymore. I got fired before I ever got hired because I was sleeping with the enemy.
So to kind of give a backstory, there was a time, and not just in Honolulu, but in various marketplaces, when radio, there would be pitted rivalries. It'd be like
big time.
The Sharks and the Jets kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
At the time, it was those were the two
Those were
top
the two
40 formats.
Top 40, yeah.
KIKI might have been more Actually, there were
Upcoming.
Yeah, it was the newer.
But see, you got to remember who was at the helm of KQMQ. That would be the infamous Kimo Akane.
Oh, he's hired me 3 different times.
Hello. Is he the best or what?
Yeah.
But you got to remember about Kimo. Kimo is mentioned in like radio history books.
He was one of the people. There's a RCS selector program there where he's one of the people. A few people cited for
putting it together.
Yeah, like just going over the numbers and things and just making sure everything looked right before they released it to market.
He's the man.
Yeah.
God bless him. And he hired me. You got to have talent to be hired by Kimo. But he heard what happened and he goes, "Why do you want to work over there anyway?"
Oh, that's so him.
Why do you want to work on it? Come work for me. I'm like, there's no jock openings. Everybody wanted to get onto KIKI or KQMQ. So I ended up doing research for Kimo, music research. And I did that, had a baby, Chris and I had a baby. And then I was still working part-time on the clubs. And then after I had my baby, I didn't have radio and there were no club gigs. And I was a cocktail waitress. Made a bank at the Oasis nightclub and lounge right there in Kamiki.
Yeah.
Okay, the old Watertown.
Where you had to go down the driveway.
Oh,
yeah.
Girl. All of the local bands got Simplicity, Manao Company. They'd all come and jam. I'm trying, those 2 stick in my mind, Simplicity, Manao Company. We had a stage and it was live Hawaiian contemporary music and all the musicians used to come and jam.
I'm trying to remember the cross streets. It's Wailai and
Kapiolani
Boulevard.
Yeah.
Is there some kind of
There's
storage place?
Public storage there.
Yeah.
Public storage. That was the place.
Which was kind of bananas because it was right on the skirts of anything. It was off of University.
If you're going to go there, you're going to
Waikiki.
be there. Right.
Yeah.
But they had darts. They had live local music. And they had the best staff in town. Amongst them was me, the cocktail waitress. And I did cocktail waitressing. And then I got hired at Hawaiian Kind 105. So I'd work till midnight there and then go work from 12 to 4 at Oasis. You want to hear the story about how I got to Hawaiian Kind 105?
Yes.
This is an interesting...
See, I didn't know that you worked over there either.
I was... before they even had a real microphone. No, seriously.
We all our stations we've ever worked at have had different humble beginnings.
Yes, very humble beginnings. We were at Dillingham Transportation Building, and it was K-Poi. And then Chuck Cotton got Hawaiian Kind 105. And because FM 100 was doing so well. So, of course, everyone's going to spring up. Okay. Hawaiian Kind 105 the program director was Dookie Duvachel. He's a union sound guy now. He's fabulous. Love him. He was the one that trusted me enough so that when he was sick, I did the programming for that station. I was just a jock. He was a program director, and there was no assistant program director, no music director. He was it. And then when, if he got sick or something happened with his family, who's going to do that? And Lisa can do it. I'm like,
Lisa's willing to do it.
And so, he taught me Selector. He taught me, back then it was SoundForge, the basics of how to program a radio station, how to work with the sales to get a promotion going. I mean, he was the all-around person that helped me and taught me with that. Kimo Akane, on the other hand, so much radio, you're on the radio, because I got headhunted most of the time. I never went out to look for a job, okay, except at Hawaiian Kind 105, because I was like, I want to get on the ground floor. This station sounds good, okay. Mike Vassar at the time.
That's another name that sounds familiar.
General sales manager, okay, at the time of KQMQ, the conglomerate, with Chuck Cotton. And I said, I hear you're looking for Dookie told me, hey, you'd be perfect. You'd be perfect, girl. For nighttime. I'm like, yeah. Because when I met Chris, he was 7 to midnight. That was the best shift, okay? And So I called Mike Vass. He goes, well, you know, I don't know if we have the budget. Da 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 da. It's just getting off the ground. Da 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 da. I go, you know what? I tell you what, Mike, I'll make you a deal because I really wanted to work there. I said, I'll work for free for 1 week. If you don't like me, no problem, right? And if you like me, give me a chance. 2 days later, he called me back. He goes, you got the job. I didn't even have to work for free. So that's how I landed there. And then Duke helped me. And then from there, Chuck, I wanted more money. And it wasn't there at that station at the time. So Chuck Cotton said to me, if you want more money, you got to go over to 98 Rock. So I went over to 98 Rock. And at that time, it was still rock and roll. Ken Hutchinson did nights.
Was B-Rock and Charlie?
B-Rock and Charlie. There we go. Duh. Thank you. And so I did afternoons and loved it.
Were you Lisa D?
Yeah, Dela Cruz.
Dela Cruz.
Because you need a last name. I go, no, I don't. Yeah. Like Sheila E. Does she have a last name? And so Lisa Dela Cruz, but everybody still knew me as Lisa D. Mm-hmm. I love working that. Mm-hmm. I was mentioned in Billboard several times because, you know, there's this chick in the afternoons. 98 Rock was already on. I mean, it had its heyday, and it was kind of like, you know, treading water. And then eventually led to the format change, became The Edge. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I loved working 98 Rock. I loved working The Edge. I mean, I'd sit there in the afternoons. We'd have traffic. We'd have, you know, live interviews with you know, well, sometimes you had to be your own salesperson and go get the person and say, hey, this is Lisa Dela Cruz in the afternoons. You know, I really want to do, what's the agency that's handling it? Then I call the agency to go, look, I want to interview this person. Just a radio thing. They don't have to make an appearance. So I got a lot of interviews on my own. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised at how many people said yes. Mm-hmm. Same thing I did at Hawaiian Kind. Duke had lined up different artists when he was on vacation, but I had to be there and work the board for these artists. Israel Kamako Viva Ole did a 4-hour shift. Jerry Santos, Skylark actually came in, and she was already gone from FM 100, did a shift. There's a lot of respect there with these people. With the local artists, when I interview them or when I talk to them or I hang with them, there's just something so loving and just, it's the aloha spirit. But it's different when you're interviewing like a big star or, you know, a rock and roll person that's coming in or whatever. They have stock answers, you know. But when you talk to local people, you interview them, they tell you stories. Mm-hmm. And from there, I was headhunted by probably, besides Dookie D, one of my favorite people of all time, Alan Oda. Mm. He became the program director at what's called Hot I-94. Everything was fresh music. This is when I-94 and KQMQ, I-94, you know, they're like this, KQMQ is like this. And then when Alan took over, he ran with it. He blew it up.
KQMQ at the time, to give a
Michael Q. Sang
and Carrie, was it Carrie? Oh, Danielle Tucker then.
Yeah.
So the morning, was it, who was on Hot I-94 at the time? As I remember, Rory Wilde, Shalyn Cole.
Yeah. That was I-94. Rory's married to one of my best friends, Haoli, who is the single-handedly, I think, the purest intention, happiest, and most incredibly graceful hula dancer in the entire world. Yeah. Besides Frank Hewitt, who's also, we have Frank Hewitt. I put it on Facebook the other day. My favorite hula dancer of all time, because he is.
It was KSSK AM FM, KIKI FM. They had an AM signal. KHVH.
KLV, KHVH.
Yeah. The radio stations, some were in Kalihi and some were in downtown Honolulu.
And then they consolidated.
Yeah, in 1999, summer, fall, 1999.
What is that place called? Dole.
Dole Cannery. It was Dole Cannery.
Yeah, I was there through all of that. But it was like, Alan said, well, he's requested that you move over to KSSK. Like, no, I don't want to move over to KSSK. Just, I was happy.
Yeah.
You know, I was happy where I was.
Yeah.
And so it's either that or no job. I go, really?
Yeah.
I went over to KSSK and I worked after Perry and Price.
Mm-hmm.
That was their only saving grace. The only saving grace for the company was that I liked those two men. I respected them and deeply admired them.
Same.
Very much so. Larry Price helped me personally in more ways than I can even count, and professionally, just day after day. And, you know, as he got older, people say, oh, you know, Larry this, that. I love that man. Okay? He could, as far as I'm concerned, he could do no wrong. And I kind of miss the banter between him and Michael in the morning. But I guess they had, you know, nowadays they have other plans.
That lineup was it was before they brought together the simulcast.
Right.
So on
Kurt
was
Williams.
you.
Yeah.
And then Jim Erickson.
And then there was Chantal Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
He made listening to the night radio.
Was he
Who was
overnights
that
or
night?
nights? Was it overnights? Chantal Dawn?
Chantal Dawn, midnight.
Sweeney. Chantal
Actually,
Dawn.
it was 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. back then.
Amazing.
Yeah. The shifts have changed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, I had a very wise program director say to me, and I believe it was Kimo Akane.
Oh, he had a lot of gems.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. He said to me, goes, I don't pay you to play music. I pay you to play commercials. And say something funny once in a while in the shortest amount of words that you can use. I ended my career working in sales, radio sales.
Really?
Yeah. I was pretty good at it, too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of things in between because as a single mother, I worked a lot.
So that's when they say something has to give and
A lot, yeah. You know, when you look back, there are things I could have done right. There's things that I know I did wrong. I was never Mother of the Year. But to this day, my kids can honestly say that they know they're loved. You know what I mean? And that's all that matters. In the end, also, you didn't have the, you know, I mean, I found a way to pay for Project Grad. That's expensive. Good Lord. Prom dresses. 3 girls. Oh, hello. 2 boys. Hello. Winter balls.
and the flowers.
And the flowers. And, you know, thank God, you know, with the girls, the boyfriends paid for it. So that was cool. Courtney bought her 2 sisters dresses because she knew, because she was working at the time. She's a little bit older. Jameson, the oldest one, was in the Marine Corps for a long time. So, you know, he wasn't really there to help. But I remember too, I'm just being so busy. Like, you know, I worked the nightclubs too as the talking DJ and help Parson Yosua with promotions, all of that. My kids managed to just be there for each other. I mean, I remember, this is one of the best stories ever. Back when we were in radio, McDonald's gave us DJ coupons. Do you remember that?
It was like the best thing.
Oh.
It's like, are they in the office yet?
Yeah. I mean, they
Bring it
had
back.
stacks.
Bring it back.
Like dessert, sandwich meal. You can pick Big Mac or quarter pounder.
Yeah.
I mean, they're little business card type
Yeah.
things that allow DJs to get free food.
Yeah.
Okay. And I remember people would give them to me because I had kids.
Mm.
And I remember like Larry was just grab it when you see it, you know, right? My kids grew up when I was at KSSK on McDonald's coupons. And it's like, oh, you can only order 4 things at a time. I'm not using these. So McDonald's goes, you can order up to 8 at a time. I'm like, thank you. I have kids. You know, I got to watch you 3 times. But yeah, and my kids remember this because I just give it, you know, and then they, you know, because Courtney could drive and they do whatever.
Yeah.
But some of their fondest memories are growing up with McDonald's DJ coupons.
It's like, I'm so glad that's something that has not gone on the wayside.
Well, they still do it?
Bringing in food into the radio stations, and it's just like samples, and it's just thank you. You know, it's like no matter how well we're taken care of on staff, it's just like,
would somebody bring in Manapua? Hello, I'm there, man.
Is that andagi?
Oh, yeah.
You know? It's like,
yeah, I love food. I love free food. I'm grateful for every opportunity that has come my way and I've grabbed. I'm grateful for having the career that I did, because it just took me where it took me. It's not like I went chasing for jobs. Mm-hmm. They just kind of landed naturally where they should be, and there have been some special angels in my life, real or imagined, that have, you know, given me the courage and strength at the particular time to get what I needed done. Mm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm blessed. I'm grateful and blessed every day. I mean, now that I'm retired, I'm officially retired. I work for concert security for Maximum. I also work for Integrity Security. They do a lot of the hula events, graduations, hula events. And I work for James Coles. Mm. I'm his hostess at different venues, you know, and it's once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. You know, I do that. And then on the security side, you know, once a week, twice a week, whatever it is, I wake up every morning and go, what am I going to do now after my coffee? It was weird, you know, in the beginning when you're like.
Because you talk about retirement. When did you decide, like, okay, I'm good having to do the 9 to 5, and now anything I do,
I can't tell you that
this
story.
Point, okay,
I can't tell you why I decided.
When did you?
Last year, October.
Aren't boundaries great?
Yes.
Boundaries are wonderful.
You know,
I appreciate you stating it, because we need to have more boundaries.
Yeah, I can't tell y'all everything.
Yeah.
Well, what it is the boundary was set. It was crossed more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times, more than 4 times. I took a lot of abuse because I just don't learn.
But look, it's sticking now.
Yeah, but, you know, and people can relate to this. If you're in a job, this is the best advice I'm going to give. If you're in a job and you're not liking it, you know, they say, find something you love to do and then you'll never work a day in your life. It is true. It is so true. It got to the point where it wasn't fun. What I was doing wasn't fun, wasn't conducive. I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. And when finally hit the fan, it wasn't even the proper time to say, look, I'm done. It was just something inside went, say it. I quit. And my boss at the time was like, whoa. But I want to tell you something. From the day I said I quit to this day, I have not had one migraine headache. Oh. And talk about stress and emotions and all that. Because if you've had a migraine, you know it's debilitating.
Yeah.
Do you have them? Yeah. I mean, I got the oral, the whole visual, all of it. Yeah. I mean, I know I see spots and I go, no. And God bless. When my guardian angel said, say you quit, I wake up the next day wondering if I did the right thing, blah, 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 blah. And I left it really, truly up to the universe. And I said, I'm going to manifest what I want. I'm going to manifest exactly what I need. I'm going to put it into thought, into prayer. And I know this. Some of you are going, oh my God, she's so freaking spiritual. It's none of that. It's not that. It's just my own belief that I want to control my destiny. And I'm going to ask for what I want in life, desire what I want in life, and pray that somebody hears me and the universe sends it to me, period. But find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life, ever. And most of my life has been that way.
Yeah.
I've been pretty blessed. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I love you, Kathy, with a K.
I love you too, Lisa D. Thank you so much for making time. For real.
No,
For real.
I appreciate you.